For this assignment, you will be georeferencing and digitizing a singular map from the Sanborn Map collection. I have already provided you with these maps on Blackboard, but I wanted to show you where I got these map images from. The Library of Congress has a robust offering of digital collections, some of which are maps and most of which are not. If you're interested, you can go to the Library of Congress website, go to their digital collections, and check out their geography and map division collections, and any of their other collections that might interest you. In their geography and map division collections section, they have quite a few options, I think 25 different map-related collections. The one we are concerned with is the Sanborn Map collection. This has maps for basically just the United States and any major city in the US that was existing in the late 1800s, early 1900s. We are interested in Arkansas, so we are going to use their filter on the left-hand side to select Arkansas, and then Pulaski County. There are 15 results returned for Sanborn maps that are located in Pulaski County, Arkansas. These returns are collections of images, so they're not just 15 individual images, they're 15 collections. And we are going to georeference and digitize the most recent Sanborn maps, which are from 1950 to 59. And we are going to use maps that are in downtown Little Rock in the historic MacArthur Park District, and those are in Volume 1. So you can see that this is actually a book that has been scanned by the Library of Congress. And the book has a page here that shows you a reference for all of the other pages. This page is in your data download folder. It is called Map Contents, and I downloaded it as a JPEG file. And you can open it and see that we have the downtown part of Little Rock sectioned off into numbered rectangles. These numbers represent basically the page number that that section of the downtown area is represented on. So we will be focusing on 63, 64, 65, and some of these other 60 and 70 numbers around MacArthur Park. Also on this page is our legend that you will be using quite frequently. The legend tells us the material that each building is made out of. And you will need to reference this in order to complete your attribute information in the material field. Because this doesn't download at the highest quality, I took a higher quality screenshot of this key, and that is called Map Legend in your data download folder. If you open it up, you will see that it's just the key, and you can zoom in on it and read these words pretty clearly. I just wanted to show you guys the Library of Congress website because there's so many cool resources on there, and you might be interested in going down a rabbit hole and looking at some of the information that they have. The goal of this assignment is to help create information or data layers for the City of Little Rock GIS team that will help them create a more robust interactive web app for their MacArthur Park Local Historic District. I wanted to show you two of the maps that the City of Little Rock has available. Well, these aren't maps, these are apps. So the first app is their Historic Site app, which doesn't look too great on my laptop. It views better on a full desktop, but it shows historic streets and important historic locations. You can click on these icons and check out pictures of what downtown Little Rock used to look like. So in this map, first let me turn off the layers that we aren't using. The city of Little Rock has a variety of base maps, one of which we will use for this project. We're going to use the 1943 base map to help georeference our Sanborn images. Another base map that they have available are these general land office plats. And this is something that the GIS employees at the city took all of these images, they brought them into a GIS software, either ArcPro or ArcMap. They georeferenced them, and then they stitched them together to create this overlay of historic information. They want the same thing for the Sanborn maps in the downtown Little Rock area, and we are going to provide them with at least 11 georeferenced Sanborn maps that they can stitch together, and then they can add to their MacArthur Park Historic District Viewer application a layer that shows those historic Sanborn map images stitched together. This is something that the people involved in historic preservation have been wanting for a long time, but the city GIS staff, there's only 2 of them for the entire city, and they just haven't had the time to commit to georeferencing and mosaicing these Sanborn images. So we're going to help them out. We're also going to create a feature class that is a polygon feature class that we will use to digitize building outlines from these map images and complete some attribute information. The information that the city specifically wanted is the material that each building is listed as being made out of. So we're going to reference the map key or the map legend from Sanborn and fill in that information. And then the city of Little Rock will have more robust information to put on their Historic District Viewer web applications. We are going to use some feature classes that the city of Little Rock has available on their REST service for our assignment. In the assignment, I think in step 3, I have provided you the link to the city of Little Rock REST service. I also wanted to show you how you can find that link when you're looking at an interactive web application. So on the city's Little Rock Historic Sites map, because this was made in Web Map Builder, let me change the base map. When you are on their map and you are looking at their layer list, there are usually an ellipses somewhere next to the layer name within the layer list. You can usually click on that, go to description, and it will pull up a page that looks like this. This is what all REST service pages look like. And you can tell that it's a REST service because it says REST service at the top. It also includes REST service in the URL. So this link, if we connected to the REST service, would take us directly to this historic sites, but we can click on home and it's going to take us to the initial REST service page for the city of Little Rock. This is what I have provided in our instruction document for this assignment. So you can copy it, and using the connection tool in ArcPro, we're going to connect to a server. This is a different server from our last assignment. Last time the server we connected to was a WMTS server. This time we are connecting to an ArcGIS server. You may have noticed on the website it says specifically that it's an ArcGIS REST service directory. Simply paste that URL into the server URL box, and it is going to ask you to sign in to the City of Little Rock Enterprise. You don't need to do that. You can just click the X button and it will connect you to the server. Now we have our server folder in our catalog pane. From the City of Little Rock REST service, you are going to add 3 different layers. The first layer I want you to add is called Mosaic 1943 Aerial Photography. The next 2 layers that you're going to add show us our roads and we are going to add those either from Base Map or Base Map Basic. So open either Base Map or Base Map Basic and then expand the roads option. And we're going to add major roads and minor roads. So these roads have a display level set, so they're not displaying yet, which we can tell first off because we can't see them on the map, and second off because they are slightly grayed out here in our content pane. But if I zoom in, they are not grayed anymore, and we can see those roads. If I turn off my base map, you can see now we have this roads layer in our map. You can change your base map if you'd like. The layers, the road layers that you add in already have labels set, so that is the labels that you are seeing are not coming from the base map, they're coming from these road layers. Next, we're going to change the symbology so that they're easy to see and that they all look basically the same. I'll call them all minor roads. I'm going to change the properties though to 2 point, and yeah, I'll keep it white. I have changed all 6 different categories of major and minor roads to all have the same symbology. I don't need to be able to tell the difference between the road types for this project, so I just want them all to look the same and to have their street name labeled. This is going to help us as we are georeferencing our image because, we don't have street names on our historic imagery. You may notice that your Mosaic 1943 takes a while to load. That's okay. It's older imagery. It does, regardless of what computer I use it on, it tends to take a while to load. Now that you have added the 1943 mosaic and your minor and major roads and changed the symbology for those roads, you are ready to georeference. Before you georeference, you are going to create a geodatabase that you will add your georeferenced image and your digitized feature class into that geodatabase, and that is what you will share with me for this assignment. To do this, you go to Catalog. Well, first you need to connect to whatever folder you want to save that geodatabase in. I'm going to save it in my Week 9 assignment folder. Now that I'm connected to that folder, I will open it in the catalog pane and I will right click on it, and I am going to add a new file geodatabase. Please give this a name of geodatabase underscore your name, so mine will be Faith. And now we are ready to georeference. To get started on georeferencing, you need to make sure you have connected to the data download folder, which is called Sanborn Maps and has 11 different map images. Reference step number 2 in the instruction document to see which map number you should georeference. And remember, when you right-click and click Add to Map on one of your images, it's going to ask you to calculate statistics. This is basically the same thing as calculating pyramids, which you did for the assignment last week. So you will click yes that you want to calculate statistics. And it may take some time, it may not take any time at all. I can see that my map image has been added to my ArcPro project, but I don't see it here in my map view. So I'm going to right click on this layer in the content pane and select zoom to layer. I'm gonna zoom out, put this in an interesting place somewhere in the US. That's surprising and unusual. Usually it puts the layers in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. So I'm going to go back to the map view that I was at by clicking this back to previous extent button many times. I know that this map is going to be located somewhere here in this part of downtown Little Rock where Interstate 630 meets with Interstate I-30. For some of you, the Georeference tab might already pop up when you are clicked on your raster layer. It does not seem to be appearing for me, so I'm going to type in Georeference. And it gave me a Georeference tab. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit in my area of interest and click Fit to Display. Unfortunately, because of the high quality JPEG 2000 format, I could not view this image before I put it in ArcPro, so I'm not exactly sure where it's supposed to go. So now that I have it in ArcPro, I'm going to zoom in and look at some of these street intersections. So we have East 15th Street and Vance, which I know that road does not exist anymore. So this is, whoever has map 70 might have a bit of a hard time locating exactly where this goes, because this goes right here where I-30 is. And our 15th Street and 16th Street are over here. Oh, well, actually, I forgot to tell you guys, an easy way to figure out where your map should be is if you have your map number. So I'm working on map 70. I'm going to look at this map contents document, zoom in, and it's going to show me where 70 is in reference to all of the other map images. So I know that this 71 is the MacArthur Park area with the Arsenal building, the Art Center, and the dog park located over here. So that is somewhere in this area. And it seems like it's going to be right about here because that was 15th and 16th. So now that I'm in this area, I'm going to click Fit to Display again to bring the map over to this area. So 15th and Vance. 15th, Bragg. Vance in this area doesn't exist anymore, so I guess I will use 15th and Bragg. Oops, wrong button. So this is going to be 15th and Bragg, and wow, I got it pretty close. So we're gonna, so this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks, the blocks being a block that doesn't exist here. Will be this block here and this block here. And then 17th Street is down here. I got really lucky on this. On fitting it to the display, I was zoomed out to almost the perfect distance. But say, for example, you were zoomed out this far, and one of these map images is not going to take up this much space. So say you were zoomed out this far and you clicked Fit to Display. It's going to fit it to this large display. You want to be kind of zoomed in at like the right scale before you fit to display. This will make it easier to add your control points. Now it's time to add control points. We added the mosaic imagery to help with these areas around Interstate 630 that do not exist in the same format as represented on the Sanborn Map images. The interstate was built in the late 50s and early 60s, and these maps are from at the latest 1950s, so they're going to show what this area looked like before the interstate was built. I'm going to keep my major road and minor road layers turned on to help me reference my location. And I am going to change the transparency of my Sanborn map image so that I can see through it. And you do that by going to the raster tab and the transparency option. Looks like 50% is probably too much. Let me try 30. Is that 30? Maybe 20%. We are going to use street intersections as our control point locations. So my first control point location is going to be the intersection of 17th Street and I think this was Bragg and Bragg Street. So that intersection is here on my map, and on my Sanborn image, and then in the actual map it is up here a little bit. So we can see when we turn on and off this 1943 imagery that the roads have not changed much in this area, although it is a bit hard to tell because this is such low quality imagery. All right, time to add my first control point. I messed up on my first control point because it has been a while since I've done this in Arc Pro. Let's try again. Well, to tell you what I did when I messed up with my control point is I clicked reset. And when I clicked reset, it sent the map image back, or the Sanborn image back to where it originally came into the map. I don't want it there, so I'm just going to fit to display one more time. And now I'm going to try adding my control points again. So first one is going to be 17th and Bragg, and I have 17th and Bragg right here in our real georeferenced data. Okay, so my source is my Sanborn image. Get as best as you can right to the center of the intersection that you're using to georeference. And then connect it to the center of your target intersection. Perfect. You should try not to use new roads, so like frontage. That wasn't a road in the 50s because there wasn't an interstate here to have a frontage road. So I'm going to skip that one. And here's Vance, and this is 17th Street and Vance, so I'm going to georeference that intersection. And you can see just by georeferencing or adding a control point to that first intersection, it already got the map matching, the Sanborn image matches our base map a little bit better already. So here's 17th and Vance. And this is 17th and Vance. Perfect. Now I can see what is frontage road. It used to be called McAlmont Road. Next, I'm going to georeference some of the intersections at the top of the map. So we have 15th and brag. That looks pretty good to me. But I'm going to look at our 1943 imagery to see how well this matches. Sometimes it takes a while to load. There we go. Quite difficult to tell, but it looks like maybe my Sanborn image needs to be moved up just a little bit to fully match where 15th Street ran and where it still runs today. I think that looks a little better. Again, quite hard to tell. You need at least 4 control points. Depending on how well your map is matching, you may only need 4, and based on how well this image is already matching, I think I'm only going to use 4 control points. Now I'm going to do an intersection that no longer exists. I'm not going to turn off the 43 imagery since it takes a minute to load, but this is right where the interstate is running. So I'm going to use this 1943 imagery for this intersection here. This intersection is 14th and McAlmont, which does not exist anymore. Again, really hard to tell, but it looks like my 14th Street on my Sanborn Map image is slightly lower than the actual 14th Street on this 43 imagery. So I'm going to try to get it to stretch a little bit higher. And if you zoom in too far, your 43 aerial imagery will go away because it has a scale set, and when you zoom in too far, it disappears based on that scale. All right. I'm going to turn off the 43 imagery. And it looks pretty good. Where these parcel lines are in the image are not on where the street is, and that is accurate to how the assessor's office draws parcel lines. They'll always be slightly offset from the street. So I think I did a pretty good job georeferencing this, and now I'm ready to create my feature class and digitize these building outlines. Oh, well, before we do that, we want to make sure that we save this new georeferenced image into your geodatabase that you created. You will submit this for a grade, and this is also what I will use to send all of these georeferenced images to the city of Little Rock. So click Save as New, and then fill out the information. It says TIFF, but it's going to save it as a GeoTIFF. I want it to be saved not into the ArcPro project that I'm using, but into the geodatabase that I created earlier. Which is in my week 9 folder. There's my geodatabase, and I'll give it a name, map 70 georeferenced. You should not have to change any of these settings. And then click Export. It says it was exported successfully. We can double check by going to our catalog pane, opening up your folder that you created, or opening up the geodatabase that you created. Sometimes it won't show anything in it, even though it has something in it. You need to right click on it and click the refresh option. But looks like that didn't work. Looks like my map image did not save to my geodatabase. Maybe I did something wrong. I did not click in far enough on that save as page, so let me try again. Yeah, I had clicked on the geodatabase, but I did not click open. Now I'm inside of that geodatabase, and now my georeferenced image will save there. Okay, says successful. I'm going to double check again, refresh this geodatabase. There we go. That map is in there with our different bands representing the different colors. If I'm going to save. This will save this georeferenced image. So we saved as new to our geodatabase. If you click save as well, that's just going to save this georeferenced image to your data download folder. And now I'm going to just zoom out, zoom to a random spot, and then add my georeferenced layer to the map. Zoom to it. Yep, it stayed in the right spot, so I did everything right. Now I'm ready to digitize building outlines. You are going to create a polygon feature class named Sanborn Digitized, and you are going to create this new feature class in your geodatabase, and it just needs 3 fields. You need a year field, which will be text, and you can change the length to 4. A map year, so the year and the map, those fields are going to have the exact same information for every single building that you digitize. The year will be 1950, and the map will be whatever number your map image is. So -70, all of the map image numbers are either 1 or 2 digits, so I made that text data type have a length of 2. And then our material field, I left at the default length because that is a bit more detailed, and that's where we're going to be spending most of our time while we attribute our geometry. So you can see in my newly created layer, I have not digitized anything yet, so the attribute table is empty. You're going to follow the same steps that you took in assignment 7.3, and I am going to change the transparency on this layer so that I can see through what I'm drawing. So make sure that your layer, your newly created feature class, is highlighted in your content pane, and then click on the Feature Layer tab and change your transparency to 50%. Then you can start creating features. If you don't have that already saved on the right-hand side, you can go to Edit and click on the Create option, and it will pull up Create Features. And please digitize using a rectangle, so each building should start out being a rectangle. This is going to give us right angles, and use the main part of the building. So that's the basis of my rectangle, and now I'm going to, or the basis of my building shape, and now I'm going to use the modify tool to reshape the edges to fully match what this building looked like. I'm going to make sure snapping is turned on. Looks like it is. So I right-clicked on this line and selected perpendicular, forcing my digitizing to use a right angle. And I'm going to do that again, but this time select parallel. And one more time to select perpendicular. And then finish. Beautiful. I think these are porches because they have like a dashed line here, so I'm not going to draw that in. Now I need to fill out the attribute information for this record. You can do that multiple different ways. You can right-click on the layer in the content pane and open the attribute table. I'm just going to use the attribute tool that's in our map tab or our edit tab. So the year for every record I input is going to be 1950, and the map number is 70. And for material, I'm going to have to check out our map legend. So pull out your map legend. So I can see that this building has a D, which I think stands for dwelling, and it is just fully one color. So I'm going to look at my key and find the color and the verbiage that matches. So the color is yellow and it has a D. That means this is a frame building. You might come across a yellow building that has this ASBCL text. That means it's a framed building covered with asbestos. We also have brick or veneered frame buildings and tile buildings, concrete buildings. There is a variety of options. So I'm going to type frame building into my field for this first record. Oh, but I have to make sure it's selected. Material, frame. Is it frame or framed? It's a frame building. And now I'll click save, and I have my first digitized building. Make sure you digitize the accessory buildings. Actually, ignore that. We are not going to digitize accessory buildings. So now I've digitized the building on this lot. Don't worry about digitizing accessory buildings. From what I discussed with the City of Little Rock GIS folks, they are not interested, or the accessory buildings don't add a ton of information to the historic context. So they said that that was not necessary. I was looking at this key to see if these like 1 and 2 mean anything. Oop. This 1 here and that 2 there, not exactly sure. Oh, that means the story, I suppose. This is of a 1-story porch and this is a 2-story dwelling. Time to digitize this building, again using a rectangle. and then modifying the shape. Sometimes the modifying will not finish if you did not get snapped perfectly, which means I need to fix my snapping. There are two more things that I want to show you guys. There are two more things that I want to show you guys. The first one is how to set your snapping tolerances so that it's much easier to use the parallel and perpendicular modify features option. To do this, in the map view, at the bottom of the map view, you have your scale information, and right beside it you have snapping. Sometimes when you hover over it, it will pop up. Other times you have to click on it or right click on it. You want to have this toggle turned on so that your snapping is turned on. And these first options mean that it will snap to a point, and these mean they'll snap to vertexes. We also want to be able to snap to edges. So click on this fourth option and make sure that it is highlighted. And you can check out your snapping tolerance. Mine is set at 20 pixels. You can change this just by clicking on snapping settings, and you can change your tolerance. It should be base set at 10 pixels. So now hopefully as I try to reshape this tool or this building outline, it will be easier. Yeah, so we can see now that my snapping is working. It's working for the vertex. It's also working for the edge. If you add an incorrect vertex, you can hover over it and right click, and you will get a delete vertex option that pops up. Okay, now this is the part that you want for snapping, is you want the end of your modify line to snap to the edge of your building outline. And that's the setting that I just changed in the snapping tools option. You can either double click or click F2 or right click and click finished. So now I have digitized 3 building outlines. I filled in the attribute information for this one. I'm going to show you that you can select all of your digitized records. In the attribute table, you'll have them all selected. And since all of these records are going to have the same year and the same map, however many you have selected, if you, rather than clicking on one of the individual records, you can click on the layer name, and now you'll be able to bulk change the year from null to 1950 and the map number to your map number. But don't do this for material because each building is going to have slightly different materials. Now I'm going to look at my key to reference this dwelling. That's just going to, again, be a frame building. And now this one is a PTS, which means apartments. So it looks like there's not an individual option in the key for that. So we are going to call it framed building apartments. So this is the work that you're going to do for this assignment. Remember, you do not have to digitize the accessory buildings. Accessory buildings are noted with an A. If you have an apartment, let's put apartment at the end of our material type. And let me see if I have an example of a different type of material. So this one's pink. And it says plastered wall. Not much more info on there, so I'm going to go with this being, I don't know, I don't feel like this building is tile. I guess it's probably a brick building. So when I digitize this, I will add brick building to the material field. Okay, well that was it for this video tutorial. Apologies for the length and the rambling, but you know me. I hope you enjoy doing this assignment, and I hope that the City of Little Rock can put all of your effort to good use.